Thursday, welcome into lcpioneers.com live, presented by PiosStream, as we are with you now 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, as competition has returned to Palatine Hill. We'll talk more about that coming up in today's show. You can watch us on Facebook Live, as well as archived on youtube.com/lcpios. Find us on lcpioneers.com as well. We are excited to keep you connected with student athletes, coaches, alumni, and members from throughout the Lewis and Clark College community. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Goff. I'm the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications at Lewis and Clark, NCAA Division III institution out of Portland, Oregon, and a member of the Northwest Conference with 9 other teams, or a total of 9 teams, I should say, from throughout Northwest Oregon and the state of Washington, and with over 430 institutions across the NCAA Division III landscape. A chance for our student athletes to compete on a national scale. And what we're doing now with the shift of the show, during the course of the pandemic, we've been with you 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday, and it has been a lot of fun keeping you connected with everybody involved with Lewis and Clark athletics, hearing stories that we might not otherwise be able to share. It has truly been a pleasure to do the show. But now that competition has returned to Palatine Hill, as softball opened up competitive play last weekend along with men's tennis, it was really exciting to see our teams back competing. But with that comes all the staffing and things that happen at an event. So what we're going to do to keep this show going, hopefully into summers and also into the 2021-22 academic year, is do a Tuesday and Thursday edition of the show. It'll be a little bit longer, but we'll have multiple guests per show. So today, in a few moments, we'll welcome in Maddie Thomas, who is a junior for track and field. We'll talk to Maddie about reasons for choosing Lewis and Clark, some overseas study experience, and what it's been like navigating the pandemic over the course of nearly a year, as the track and field season was cut short in 2020, about mid-March, which is coming up quickly. It's really surprising to think about. And then later on in the show, after a commercial, we'll talk to Aaron Campbell, the head coach of the track and field program, Maddie's coach as well. So looking forward to having both of our guests today on the show. We do ask that you get involved with the program. You can always do so in our Facebook Live comments. If you have a question for Maddie or Aaron, or if you have a suggestion for a future guest, we always like to know about that. You can also email us anytime, sports@lclark.edu. And with everything that's going on, social media is a great way to stay connected. You can find us at LC Pioneers on Twitter and Instagram. We also are keeping you updated on lcpioneers.com, which again, a big win for softball last Saturday over Corbin on the road. Softball team scheduled to open up at home this weekend. We had some exhibition women's soccer matches. The men's tennis team opened up at Portland State. So competition is alive at Lewis and Clark. We also invite you to keep connected too with anything related to COVID-19 and updates therein, NCAA, Northwest Conference, etc. That's available at lcpioneers.com/COVID. And then our YouTube page continues to be a source of information. We're looking forward to continuing adding content to the YouTube page. Go to youtube.com/lcpios and a chance to see all of our past lcpioneers.com live interviews. And starting in 2021-22, more content we're expecting to put on the YouTube page as well. All right, let's get into our interview. Welcome in our first guest of the show, Maddie Thomas, a junior for Lewis and Clark Women's Track and Field, joining us on the show. Maddie, it's great to catch up with you and have a chance to talk a little bit about what's going on. We talked about the pandemic, and I kind of have been starting a lot of the interviews with how are you doing, right? Checking in and seeing how everything's been going. But we're also, weeks into the spring 2021 semester as well. So let's check in with you. How are things going so far?
Yeah, they're going pretty well. I've just been really thankful that Lewis and Clark, we've been functioning fairly normally compared to a lot of other campuses across the U.S. So yeah, being home for 2 months over winter break, it was a little hard to get adjusted to being back on campus. But being able to be out on the track every day, I have an in-person class every single day, kind of takes my mind off of the downsides of the pandemic for sure.
Yeah, and certainly continued health to everyone, you and your peers on campus and the whole entire community throughout. And I always like to get a feel for why people come to Lewis and Clark in the first place. So let's get the origin story from you. What was it about the chance to compete at Lewis and Clark that made you choose the Pios?
Yeah, so I knew through looking for colleges that I wanted somewhere with a really strong international affairs program. That was my number one requirement. And LC definitely has that. I knew I wanted to study Arabic. I knew I wanted to study abroad. And then once I came here and spoke to Aaron Campbell, our coach, and realized that I would have the opportunity to continue competing in track, something that I love to do, LC just kind of offered the whole package. Like I didn't come here necessarily just to do track, but that was like a huge, huge bonus. So yeah, it kind of just offered the whole package for me. It's far enough from home that I'm like away doing my own thing, but not so far that like I can't come home when I want to.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about the academic side of things, especially international affairs, as it sounds like
Mm-hmm.
you're pretty involved in that department. Let's look at that track and field. What have been some of the more difficult aspects of going through the pandemic with a fall practice schedule that maybe was thrown out of whack? You can let us
Mm-hmm.
know, obviously. And then what it's been like in spring so far. How excited are you to possibly get out and compete as soon as early March?
I'll start with that first. I'm incredibly excited to compete. I was abroad last spring, so I have not competed in track meet since May of 2019, I think. So I'm a little nervous for sure, but excited to just get back out there. We've been training pretty hard through spring and fall. But as far as challenges based on the pandemic, I think just consistency was the biggest challenge. You know, we through the fires, through the pandemic, through this ice storm, just our access to facilities is kind of constantly disrupted. So our biggest challenge has just been like getting out there as much as we can, staying on a consistent training schedule. But Campbell's made it as easy as possible for us. So is Coach Ange. And then a lot of us had different access to facilities those 2 months at home. So coming back after winter was a challenge for sure. But I think we're ready, and we'll see at that first meet.
Maddie Thomas, our guest on lcpioneers.com live junior for women's track and field. And team is such an important aspect of intercollegiate athletics, right?
Yeah.
But then you add all those unprecedented things that have been happening. Wildfires. We recently had an ice storm in the western part of Oregon. And that's all amidst a pandemic, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how great has it been to have teammates through the course of all of these things that are happening in respect to the last year?
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. Like I cannot overemphasize how much the team aspect of track has like helped me through school, through the pandemic, through everything. I was talking to my parents the other day. I love Lewis and Clark, absolutely, but with all of these restrictions, like I don't know if I would be enjoying my time here if I didn't have track through all of this because it's just one part of every single day is carved out to one focus on my athletic ability getting better, but then just spending time with people that like I really care about and really enjoy being around. And I mentioned this before, but just taking my mind off of everything that's going on every single day, like it definitely helps me stay focused on the rest of my academics and stuff.
And when you expand that into the coaching staff too, what's the relationship like with the head coach, Coach Campbell, and then in specialties too? You know, you have opportunities to get a lot more coaching from even beyond the head coach, which isn't necessarily the case with all the sports. What's it like for you?
Yeah, I was just talking to my friend Noah on the team the other day. Our relationship with Campbell is amazing. Like he's an amazing coach. Freshman year, I think he was really intimidating. He doesn't like, I don't know, he doesn't just go out and talk to you like right away. He's an amazing coach, super welcoming, but none of us could really get a read on him freshman year. And then I think through sophomore year and now definitely junior year, I just think like our relationship with him and all of the team is just incredible. Like he is willing to help us out with absolutely anything, talk about anything. But there's still that line. Like we have so much respect for him and he's such an amazing coach, but he's also like a support system for us all. And we can make fun of him. He can make fun of us. We talk a lot of crap about his playlist, that's for sure. He
The
mentioned that.
the music is
The music
questionable.
the music is questionable. We go from Nickelback to Taylor Swift to Michael Jackson, all like while we're trying to sprint. It's pretty funny. But then yeah, and then specialty coaches. I work a lot with Jim and Jim. That's incorrect. Tim and Julie Bright. Um, Tim was an Olympic decathlete, and then Julie was an elite collegiate athlete as well. So getting to work with them, like their expertise in jumps is just incredible.
this will be a first in lcpioneers.com live history because we have your coach following you, so there will actually be a chance for rebuttal to the music, just a
Yeah.
little bit. International affairs, you mentioned that at the top, and that's not surprising in the sense that NCAA Division III encourages that holistic approach. It's not just about
Yeah.
competition. So you mentioned international affairs was a big decider in why you chose to come to Lewis and Clark. What was it about that program that got you excited?
Yeah. I just the international affairs program here is just incredibly strong. Like throughout the US, it's known that LC has just this great program, great professors. I think at this point, I've worked or taken a class with every single professor in the department, and they're all just so incredibly passionate about what they do. I've gotten a chance to work really closely with like Bob Mandel. I want to work in the security field of international affairs. That's exactly what he did. And just the liberal arts education offers like a lot of one on one with professors. But I just have really truly felt that in the international affairs department that every professor I work with, like they've wanted to see their students succeed after college and are willing to do everything it takes to make that possible. Um, so yeah, it's been just a huge upside of my whole college experience is that department.
And you mentioned the specific aspect of security, right? What is
Mm-hmm.
it about that field that entices you?
I think since I was about 13, I've known that I wanted to work in counterterrorism. I think after the Boston bombing happened, that had a huge impact on me. And I just decided right then that I want to work in that field someday. I want to do whatever's possible to have some type of positive impact on the field of counterterrorism. And when I came to college and was exposed to a bit more of the intricacies of that field and the challenges, I think I just got all the more excited about it. And then working with Bob, who's worked in that field, um, yeah, that's just, I don't know exactly what to say about it, but that's what I've wanted to do for a really, really long time. And LC has just really helped me get even closer to that.
You're watching lcpioneers.com live, presented by PiosStream. We're on Facebook Live Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. Coming up, head coach of the track and field program, Aaron Campbell. Right now, we're talking to one of Campbell's student athletes, Maddie Thomas, a junior from Vacaville, California. We're talking about international affairs as your major, but it goes beyond just the degree program too. And at Lewis and Clark, symposia are a very big deal. The International Affairs Symposium, what is it that you're doing specifically with that opportunity?
Yeah, so the International Affairs Symposium, it's hosted every single year. I think this will be the 59th annual symposium. And we invite 12 speakers within the international affairs, very broad field, to come and not only speak on campus, but debate each other. So we have six really contentious debates. And that's another thing I love about the IA department here is they put an extreme focus on controversy, on exposing students to very, very different opinions and beliefs within the field and on every issue. They really want us to have like a comprehensive understanding of a lot of the things we're looking at. And that's what the IA Symposium really represents. So we have six very contentious debates. I don't think we've announced them yet, so I can't talk about specifically what they are. But we usually have those 12 speakers come to campus and debate each other. This year, we have been forced to move part of it onto an um, online platform. So we're working on the details of that. But yeah, we'll still have that same type of debate style thing going on, and hopefully bring in lots of kids from the community, even people who aren't international affairs students, because they're going to be debating issues that I think are on everyone's mind.
Well, and you mentioned the online aspect, and we've talked to some others, environmental studies symposium, the other ones that go on throughout the year. I think we're having gender studies symposium
Yeah.
coming up soon. We'll talk to some of the organizers of that. Out of the pandemic and not being able to do it exactly the same way, what have you found to be some of the benefits of that in terms of reach and being able to find more people?
Yeah, so we were planning our symposium from the start of fall semester as if it was going to be in person. Like it's a really long planning process. So as far as looking for speakers, we didn't really have in mind that we would be forced to go online. Um, but I mean, that's the reality at this point. But the benefit is like we have a lot of international speakers and people who may not have been able to work out their schedules to necessarily come to campus for 3 days now are able to participate like from I think we have a speaker from France and we have one from Spain and it just gives us a little bit more opportunity to communicate with them and it opens up their schedule a bit.
Now you had the opportunity to be inducted into Pamplin Society of Fellows. We've had a
Mhm.
fellow Quincy Bowman on who was inducted the year after you. It's a sophomore opportunity. You were selected a year ago. Describe what the society is and what your reaction was when you found out that you were part of it.
Yeah, so the society, like you said, it's a sophomore opportunity. They extend a fellowship to 7 sophomores every year. And it's an academic fellowship, but it's also, I think the like requirements for it are performance, like in your academic classes, integrity, focus on fitness and personal wellness, and a commitment to your community at large. Like that's what they're looking for in fellows. I think I was nominated by two of my professors sophomore year, and I was just ecstatic that two of my professors thought that I met the requirements to be in this awesome opportunity. And so I interviewed, I made it in sophomore year. I was just so grateful. I enjoyed my first year at LC, but that the culmination of like my hard work at the end of freshman year, kind of being recognized and then being part of a group of kids who have a lot of the same motivations as me was really incredible. And then what was your second question on that? Oh, what do we do? Yeah, we offer, we extend membership to the next year. So the students do that. And then we work on a distinguished visiting scholar. So we'll be inviting someone probably on an online platform to come speak at school. And then we do Teacher of the Year awards as well. So we'll be conducting that really soon. And then we just try to do community service and involvement. That's been a little limited lately. So we're trying to find new ways to go about that. But yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
You mentioned earlier too overseas study, and
Mhm.
anyone who did overseas study during spring 2020, obviously it was a unique moment in time, right?
Yeah.
Feel free to share any of the story behind that part of it, but also what program you chose, and initially
Mhm.
what was it that led you to choose it?
Yeah, so I study Arabic here. That's the language that I'm focusing on. And Morocco, the Morocco Study Abroad program. It was a regional study, not necessarily a language intensive, but there was an Arabic component to it. So that's what made me choose it. I had never been out of the country before prior to last spring. So going to Morocco for 2.5 months for my first out of country experience was pretty intense. I had an amazing time. I could talk about it for days. We spent some time in Marrakesh, in Sidi Ifni, Agadir, and then we were supposed to go on to Casablanca for a bit, but then the pandemic hit. Things were kind of up in the air for a while, and then all of a sudden it was just like panic mode, and everyone had to get home. Um, a few of us bought plane tickets right away and some other students were going to wait a couple days. We didn't really know the extent to which flights were going to be shut down, so it wasn't like, oh, we need to get out right this second. But the second I landed in London, I was like the fourth student to leave. I was met with like 50 texts from all the kids back in Morocco that all of their flights had been canceled. So um, I spent the night in London. A few other kids were in the US, and then most people were still in Morocco. And we were all just like looking for flights to get them home. They were just going on rounds and rounds of them being canceled. Jen, who's on the cross country team or has been in the past, she was one of the students stuck there. So they were there, I think, for like 5 or 6 days, just in the airport every single day trying to get a flight out. So I would say the last few days of our trip were definitely a bit tainted by stress and just like uncertainty, but our first 2 months there, like, were just such an incredible experience.
So let's close with that thought then. You mentioned you had never been able to travel outside the country.
Mhm.
Clearly, did that kind of scratch an itch that you would like to go back and have an opportunity to complete a program or just explore sometime?
Absolutely. Like based on my setup, I don't think I'll be going abroad through the school again. But I would love to go back to Morocco, spend some more time with my host family, and then just kind of finish what we went there to do. Like I want to see the rest of the country. I want to have those experiences. Most of us were planning on going to Europe for a few weeks after our Morocco program ended. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I'd like to do that as well. But yeah, I'd like to continue my language study for sure. Moroccan Arabic is a lot different than standard Arabic, which I did not find out until I really went there. So yeah, I'd like to spend some more time in Morocco. I'd like to go to like Jordan and Lebanon to continue the Arabic study. But just very broadly, I would like to travel more.
Well, international affairs major, it sounds like you'll have those opportunities ahead of you, certainly. But
Hmm.
thank you for all that you do for our campus. Eager for you to compete as well, coming up hopefully as soon as March 6th. Maddie Thomas, thanks so much for taking the time to join us on lcpioneers.com live.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks for the flexibility, too. Maddie, we were originally going to have Maddie on 1 week, then had to postpone it a week, then had to take that week off, shifted to the next week. And then we're starting to figure out how we were going to restructure the show because competition started over last weekend. And so with having to staff all the events that are happening on campus and then certainly organizing everything that's going on outside of Lewis and Clark College community for competition, we decided we wanted to try to do the show still, but we wanted to make sure that it was something that we could keep consistent. And so the focus on that is moving it now to Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And so I had to ask Maddie. I don't even think I reached out to her last week when she was supposed to be on a week ago and said on Friday or Saturday this week, say, hey, can you come on, please? That'd be great. So big thanks to Maddie. Really insightful stuff. And it sounds like her Lewis and Clark experience has been tremendously a good one so far, even with all of what the pandemic has brought in terms of uncertainty. So with the new format, 2 guests per show. And this is the part that I'm not quite sure exactly how to transition into because I don't necessarily want to play somewhere between 3 or 4 1-minute commercials. But that's the plan for today because we're not quite sure what to do. I was thinking about maybe trying to find previous clips of the show and some of our favorite moments and then having those loop through during the course of the break as we switch to the different guests that's coming on. We'll figure that out, but we certainly appreciate being along with us for the ride. And so when lcpioneers.com live returns, we'll talk to the head coach of the track and field program, Aaron Campbell. It's all ahead coming up right now on Facebook Live. Thank you for being here. You can find all of our past shows at youtube.com/lcpios. We'll return in just a moment.
We invite you to join us.
It's time to explore Lewis and Clark.
My favorite spot on campus is like right outside the Dovecote, little benches, and there's flowers growing there, and you can get a little coffee at the Dovecote and sit there.
My favorite spot on campus is definitely the weight room. I get that everybody loves like the gardens or the manor house, but our facilities for athletics here are actually amazing too, and the weight room is definitely my favorite spot.
My favorite spot on campus would either be the glade outside of the athletic facilities or South Campus.
What is my favorite spot on campus? I really like the back porch of the manor house. It looks out on Mount Hood, and on a clear day, it's super beautiful just to sit around with friends.
Casey Jones, and I teach a range of classes: general chemistry, organic chemistry, and also some advanced classes. And I have a research lab that currently I have 4 students working with me as part of the Rogers program. The summer experience is a way to get really deeply involved in the science that is here and be able to start to define what might be what you want to do next. So the brown bag gives our students a chance to explain their research and really show the context and the application of what they're doing to a very broad range of students and faculty.
It's interesting to be able to communicate to other scientists what your work is, and it forces you to learn how to talk about your subject so that not only experts in your field can understand it, but others can understand it as well, which I just believe is a good life skill.
To talk about your research in a way that anybody can understand it really is a valuable experience, and it's something that you don't get a lot of practice for except in these contexts. Because oftentimes you're giving a presentation to a classroom filled with people who know basically the same things that you do, but in a brown bag, you have to be able to explain and provide motivation for everything that you're working on and why it's important and why it's relevant to be studying.
LCPioneers.com Live continues on this Thursday. Thank you for being with us on Facebook Live and wherever you may be watching as we continue to talk to student athletes, coaches, alumni, and different members from the Lewis and Clark College community. Big thanks again to Maddie Thomas for joining us, and this is our first multi-guest show as we'll plan to continue through at least the end of this academic year, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, and taking you into the noon hour on the West Coast as well. Let's welcome in the head coach of track and field at Lewis and Clark in his 3rd season as the head coach, whether interim or now in the permanent role as he has been for the last couple seasons. It's Aaron Campbell joining us on the show. And Aaron, this is your 3rd appearance on LCPioneers.com Live, and it's been interesting kind of to see the interviews we've had with coaches unfold, because the first one with you was very early in the pandemic. It was in April of 2020. Then we talked to you at the start of September last fall when everything was kind of resuming on campus, trying to find ways to practice and all of that. And now we're talking to you potentially weeks away from competition. So it's been interesting to see how it's developed. Let's start with just a look at what you're anticipating, what the spring has been like so far, and what you're eager to get back to when it comes to competition.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ryan. It's definitely been quite the journey since the first time that we spoke. Right now, I think we're really excited for the first couple weeks ahead. You know, the progression from getting last season canceled to being here on the fall and unsure of what the next few months we're going to hold. And then right now we're prepping for a track meet here on March 6th. And it's exciting. It's exciting. It's nerve-wracking. It's a little scary. It's been so long since we've been competing, but I think that as a whole, we're ready for it, and I think that's been part of our messaging this whole time since we got back on campus in the fall. Of hey, you don't know what the future holds, but when it comes, just make sure you're ready. And yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, doing the best you can as you can, day in and day out. And coach and Maddie Thomas, coach, was just on and talked about her excitement about getting back out there and competing for the first time since she wasn't on the team last year overseas study in spring 2020, right? Since May of 2019, which was kind of mind-blowing to hear. How do you get student athletes who may not have the traditional training that you're used to when it's not a pandemic? How do you have to make sure that they're in their best shape, in the most practice that they've had to get ready for something like this?
Well, I think that one of our philosophies here is we're really focused on, you know, the individual in terms of what the individual is capable of in that moment and long term. So when we train an athlete, regardless of, you know, whether it's a pandemic or they study abroad or they're a first year, someone who's been in the program for multiple years, is we say, all right, this is where you're at, this is where you want to go, and what are the pieces that we need at this point in time. And I think as far as, you know, our overall team and where we've been and kind of looking forward, we had a message to the team yesterday that, hey, like we're going to ask you to put the foot on the gas occasionally, but whenever we do, it's just know that you're prepared for it, and we never give anyone more than they can handle. But at that time, it may be different for every person. But um, yeah, with Maddie being gone since 2019, we just said, hey, this is where you're at. Let's put some pieces together, and we'll just get you better for right now.
I am curious if you could give us one glimpse on the inside back to fall with, again, transitioning from a summer, a lot of everyone not being anywhere near each other, to then starting to figure out how to do practices in the fall. What did practice look like when you first returned to campus back in fall 2020?
Well, for pretty much everyone on our team, no one had as long of a break in probably their whole life than they did coming into fall training. And that's overall, like there was nothing open, there were no gyms. Most people had basically been in quarantine for multiple months. So we were very, very cautious in terms of like how we approached it. I think we worked on a lot of basics and just said, all right, what are the most essential things that you have to have in order to just be an athlete? And let's start there. And we just approach practice from that sense. And I think that in full honesty, that we were pretty surprised in terms of how people came back after multiple months in quarantine. And it's always interesting because if you're an athlete, like you're an athlete and you don't really lose that ability. So when we walked in the building, we had that approach and we built those foundations, but people got going pretty quick. And I think that even throughout our whole fall, going into winter break, we felt really, really good about where people were at.
Our guest is head coach of track and field at Lewis and Clark, Aaron Campbell, third time around on the show. And the one thing that I always like to do too is get an idea of some of the first year student athletes that you have and how they've been having an impact. Again, it's been a fairly irregular year, but that said, what are you most excited about the class that just came in for their first year competing at the collegiate level?
We're excited to get them on the track. We're excited to get them into meets. It's such a nice blend that we have in the program right now, where we have some people that, you show up to practice and as a coach, you're excited because you're watching them train and you're watching them develop and you're thinking, man, if we can just get this person into a meet, this person is going to beat people. And we have some people in the program that have been huge culture pieces in terms of how we've transitioned, just our overall team dynamic. And it's going to be exciting to get into a meet. And that's one of the unique things about track is, you have your time, you have your lane, your event where you're getting your marks, but the team is still a huge part of, when you're coming down that final stretch, you're trying to get that last throw in, you have your teammates there that are pumping you up. And we have so many people in the program that we can't wait to get to a meet for all those reasons, because the first years in particular have been just fantastic since they walked on campus.
And part of that process to becoming a Lewis and Clark student athlete is the recruiting process. And that's something that continues, obviously, going into 2021-22 academic year next year. When you look at all that Lewis and Clark has to offer the surrounding area with Portland, what do you relay to recruits and people that ask when they find out that you're the Lewis and Clark track and field head coach?
Well, if you're going to come to Portland, you're going to love it. I think that for me, I've lived on both East Coast, West Coast. I've lived in big cities, I've lived in small towns, and I think Portland has the best blend of all the components that me personally would want in a city, in terms of you get that community feel where, there's something about being in Portland that, it's nice to walk down the street and people love Portland. Like that's awesome. It's nice to be able to know where you're at any time in the city, and it's nice to have a ton of amenities at your disposal. So if you want to go big, and go to a Blazer game, or you need to go to a museum, or you need to go to OMSI, whatever it is, you get that. If you get sick of going to the same restaurant over and over again, well, there are thousands of restaurants here that are, some of the best in the country. So you get that. And, no one, in my humble opinion, no one's a bigger Portland fan than me in terms of what the city provides. And it's nice to be able to recruit, to be able to connect with the coach who says, if you're going to come here, you're going to love the community. Let me tell you firsthand how much I love this community.
All right. That said, Maddie tells us that your music choice is somewhat suspect. Do you have a rebuttal to the judgment from one Maddie Thomas about your playlist?
Well, Maddie is still, coming into her own as a person. And she'll get a feel for. I think part of the music that we play is it's so eclectic and it's got such a variety to it that yeah, you're probably not gonna love every song, but as a whole, my music taste is good.
Nickelback?
No Nickelback on it, but we definitely have a little bit of everything. That if you were a Nickelback fan, you're probably gonna find some songs that you'll like, but nothing specific to Nickelback.
All right. Well, I'll reserve my judgment to the next time I have a chance to examine said playlist. But until then, good luck. Competition could start as soon as March 6th. That's what's on the schedule right now. And we'll keep everyone updated on the website. Aaron Campbell, thank you so much for joining us today on lcpioneers.com live.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
Absolutely. You're welcome. That's head coach of track and field for Lewis and Clark, Aaron Campbell. Okay, so no Nickelback. We got that confirmed, and that's always an important thing, is to make sure that we have the facts correct, right? But yeah, a lot of fun, I think, for having our very first 2-guest show in different time slots. We've had simultaneous guests before on the show, but we've never done it this way, where the show runs a little bit longer, but we have multiple guests over the course of it. We'll see how it continues to go, and we will look forward to having more guests on Tuesday. We'll also start trying to get back to having a little bit more of the predictable schedule, where we give you guests that we're going to have maybe 2 weeks in advance, as opposed to this show, which we had put up yesterday, instead of having some sort of agenda. But that said, you can always find us on lcpioneers.com/live. That's how you get to this page and see all the thumbnails of the upcoming episodes. And then, of course, if you miss anything, go inside the fan zone at lcpioneers.com. On the website, we have a link to all the past shows. Or you can subscribe to our YouTube as well, youtube.com/lcpios, and you can watch all of our past shows. We have a full list of past shows available there. The last one that we had prior to today's was a good conversation with men's tennis alumnus Pim Trauerbach, and it really focused around his ability to excel in the cybersecurity world. It was really a fun interview, and that's just one of now probably dozens that we have on that playlist. Be sure to check it out. It's at youtube.com/lcpios. So until we see you again on Tuesday for more of the show, I'm Ryan Goff. Thank you so much for having fun with us. Big thanks to Maddie Thomas for joining us, Coach Aaron Campbell as well. We will see you again on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time for more of lcpioneers.com live, presented by PiosStream. Until then, goodbye everybody. Take care.
Hi, I'm Nick Lombardi. Something I've learned at Winterham this year is how to communicate a vision.
General chemistry, organic chemistry, and also some advanced classes. And I have a research lab that currently I have 4 students working with me as part of the
I think the way in which my liberal arts education has really helped me and my group formulate our ideas is that concept of critical thinking and having many different backgrounds, me being an econ major and my 2 group mates being chemistry majors.
That gives our students a chance to explain their research and really show the content.
You find yourself not only being more prepared for, say, this next semester, on top of being more prepared for life in general.